Stretching across North Africa, the Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert in the world, covering an area nearly as vast as the United States. Its endless sea of sand dunes, rocky plateaus, and arid plains is shaped by powerful winds and extreme temperatures. Despite its harsh conditions, the Sahara is home to unique plants, resilient animals, and ancient cultures that have adapted to survive in this challenging environment, making it a place of both beauty and mystery. The Land of Fear, the most isolated place in the world. Sahara Desert. Picture this. You're standing in a place so vast and unforgiving that ancient cartographers simply wrote, "Here be monsters," across its endless expanse. A realm where entire civilizations have vanished without a trace, where the sun becomes your executioner, and where silence itself seems to scream. Welcome to the Sahara Desert, not just the world's largest hot desert, but humanity's greatest earthly nemesis, a 3.6 million square mile testament to nature's capacity for absolute terror. The Arabs called it Sahara, the Great Wilderness. But this clinical term barely captures the spine-chilling reality of what lies beneath those rolling dunes. This is the land where hope goes to die, where even today, with all our modern technology, people simply disappear into the sand as if swallowed by some ancient, hungry god. The birth of a monster. Long before humans dared to dream of conquest, the Sahara was busy perfecting the art of isolation. 6,000 years ago, this wasn't a desert at all. It was a lush, green paradise teeming with rivers, lakes, and abundant wildlife. Cave paintings in the Tassili Najjar Mountains still haunt us with images of hippos, crocodiles, and giraffes where today only scorpions dare to tread. But then came the Great Transformation, a climatic shift so dramatic it literally rewrote the geography of an entire continent. As the Earth's axis wobbled slightly, a cosmic hiccup lasting millennia, the monsoon rains began to fail. Rivers dried up, lakes became salt flats, and vegetation withered into dust. The Sahara emerged like some primordial beast awakening from slumber, stretching its sandy tentacles across North Africa with ruthless efficiency. What emerged was not just a desert, but an almost supernatural barrier that would split the continent in two for thousands of years. The transformation created something unprecedented in human experience. A void so complete, so hostile to life, that it became the ultimate test of human endurance. The Sahara didn't just separate peoples, it devoured them. Entire expeditions, numbering in the hundreds, would enter its domain and never emerge. Their bones, bleached white by the merciless sun, became waymarkers for those brave or foolish enough to follow. The graveyard of civilizations. But here's where the story takes a truly chilling turn. The Sahara isn't just geographically isolated, it's temporally isolated, a place where time itself seems to stop. In 1922, British archaeologist Douglas Newbold discovered something that defied explanation: the Zerzura Oasis, a legendary city that had vanished from maps for over 500 years. Local Bedouins spoke of it in whispers, calling it the City of Birds, a place where those who entered were never seen again. The reality was even more disturbing. Newbold found not a thriving oasis, but a perfectly preserved ghost town, its buildings intact, its wells still holding water but completely devoid of human life. Personal belongings lay scattered as if the inhabitants had simply vanished mid-sentence. Food remained on tables, tools lay where they had been dropped, and children's toys sat in courtyards where no children would ever play again. This wasn't an isolated incident. The Sahara is littered with such temporal anomalies, places where civilizations simply stopped existing. The Garamantian Empire, once controlling trade routes across the desert for over 1,000 years, left behind sophisticated irrigation systems and elaborate tombs, then disappeared so completely that historians debate whether they were even real. The desert's isolation created a perfect preservation chamber for these lost worlds. In the hyper-arid conditions, organic materials that would decay elsewhere in decades survive for millennia. Archaeologists have found 4,000-year-old textiles, perfectly preserved wooden artifacts, and mummified remains so well preserved they look as if they died yesterday. The psychology of infinite emptiness. What truly makes the Sahara the most isolated place on Earth isn't just its physical vastness, it's the psychological warfare it wages on the human mind. Early explorers wrote of a phenomenon they called desert madness, a gradual dissolution of sanity that began with the landscape itself. Imagine standing in a place where the horizon line dissolves into shimmering mirages, where the very ground beneath your feet seems to move and breathe. The Sahara plays tricks with perception that border on the supernatural. Sand dunes migrate like living creatures, sometimes traveling hundreds of miles in a single season. Entire landmarks disappear overnight, leaving travelers hopelessly lost in a landscape that literally reshapes itself. The silence is perhaps the most unnerving aspect. In most of the Sahara, you can hear your own heartbeat echoing off the dunes. Early Arab geographers described regions where the silence was so complete it drove men mad. Places they called the ears of the desert, where sound itself seemed to die. French explorer Henri Lotté, during his expeditions in the 1950s, documented what he called temporal displacement syndrome among his team. Men would swear they had been walking for days when only hours had passed, or conversely, that mere minutes had elapsed during day-long marches. The desert, it seemed, operated by its own physics, its own rules of time and space. The modern fear. Even today, with GPS satellites and emergency beacons, the Sahara remains humanity's most feared environment. Every year, hundreds of people simply vanish into its depths. Unlike other wilderness areas where bodies are eventually recovered, the Sahara keeps its victims. The desert's ability to bury evidence is legendary. Entire aircraft have disappeared without leaving so much as a scrap of metal behind. In 2009, a team of geologists using ground-penetrating radar made a discovery that sent chills through the scientific community. Beneath a seemingly empty stretch of sand in Algeria, they found the remains of what appeared to be an entire medieval city, complete with buildings, streets, and what looked like hundreds of human skeletons. Carbon dating suggested the city had been buried in a single catastrophic sandstorm sometime in the 14th century. The most terrifying aspect? Local Bedouins had no oral traditions about any settlement in that area. An entire civilization had been not just destroyed, but forgotten, erased so completely from human memory that it might as well have never existed. The Eternal Warden. The Sahara stands as more than just a geographical feature. It's a monument to isolation itself, a reminder that Earth still harbors places where human civilization simply cannot take root. Its dunes continue their eternal migration, burying the present just as they buried the past, creating new mysteries while keeping old secrets. This is why the Sahara remains the most isolated place on Earth. It's not just that it's difficult to reach or survive in, it's that it actively erases evidence of human presence, creating a landscape where isolation becomes absolute, where the very act of existing becomes an act of defiance against an environment that seems designed by some cosmic force to ensure that nothing and no one is ever truly found. In our hyper-connected age, where satellite imagery maps every square meter of Earth's surface, the Sahara remains stubbornly unknowable. It continues to swallow expeditions, hide civilizations, and guard its secrets with the patience of geological time. It stands as Earth's great reminder that some places were never meant for human footsteps, and perhaps never will be.